Hello and welcome back everybody to another episode of From the Heart. And while it has been a little while since we've dipped down into the dark shoes of the Batman himself, this is precisely what we'll be doing today. Another story out of the greatest Batman stories ever told. And while this is a book that I've only touched on in once, as a lot of these older Batman stories manage to be very campy and a little bit ridiculous and always seem to catch Batman saying some of the most wildest things that I've ever heard. Things that we would never hear in any of these modern tales. I think I really have found a decent story that we can all enjoy together. One of these more sentimental stories that would also feature a little bit of comedy, featuring enemies such as the name of Gooch, or Batman just threatening somebody with, something very terrifying. But overall, everybody, on this channel, I've covered a great many of Batman's stories, and it always manages to be something very fun for me. I've always really enjoyed kind of mixing different music to kind of usher in a different sort of vibe, whether it'll be one of these darker stories or something a little more sentimental. Batman always manages to be something that I personally can enjoy so much, and hopefully you as well. And while it isn't something that I read every single day, it's something that I'm always happy to return to. And the story that we'll be covering today is a story called No Hope Left in Crime Alley. And what this story would essentially be about is about Batman taking a day off on the anniversary of the day his mother and father were murdered in front of his very eyes. Taking a day off from Joker or Crocodile or the Mad Hatter or even Harvey Two-Face to kind of go back to Crime Alley and help some of these less fortunate from all the ne'er-do-wellers, all these undo-gooders, which I'm not even sure is a phrase. And like I've said before, a lot of these older Batman stories are usually a little weird, a little campy, and a little bit too ridiculous. This is something that I really had a lot of fun reading. So everybody, I hope you can enjoy this, and by the end of the video, if you could comment down below your favorite Batman story, I would be sure to kind of read it and maybe even consider for the next video. But for now, where our story will begin is where it all started. 21 years ago, this neighborhood was the dwelling place of the rich and soon-to-be rich. A place of gourmet restaurants and fashionable theaters, of elegant women and suave men. But the dry rot of time has set in, and the laughter stopped, and the lights dimmed. And those elegant women and those suave men sought their pleasures elsewhere. And now, only the forlorn and the desperate walk these streets. For one night, two brutal slayings occurred, signaling the beginning of the end. The area known as Park Row acquired a new name, Crime Alley. And there is no hope in Crime Alley. It began 3 hours ago at the lavish uptown penthouse of the millionaire Bruce Wayne. And with the next set of panels, we'd be looking at Batman getting suited up, putting on the Batsuit as Alfred would continue to question this man about what his plans are for the night, as it would seem that a very mysterious jewel heist has been going on all across Gotham City, and Alfred would remark that not even the FBI, the CIA, or even the Gotham Police Department has any leads on anything going on with this. Going as far as to even say that they are absolutely perplexed. But with Alfred's nagging, Batman would literally tell him that he does not care, telling Alfred to tend to his duties and to leave Batman alone. But with this, Alfred would begin to think that he's never really seen Bruce Wayne so agitated, so ready to leap into any kind of action, and it's so strange to actually see this man turn down any sort of case. But as we would see in the coming pages, Bruce Wayne would have something far more important to tend to. As with the next panel, we would see Bruce Wayne entering Crime Alley, and as soon as he would touch down, catching two people trying to steal out of a car. Hey, while I rip off the hubcaps, snatch the radio. Yeah, I got it, Harry. And then you can put it right back. The Batman! Don't hurt me, man! I'm begging you! I won't. Put the radio back. While your pal is undoing the harm he's already done, you'll talk. Where is Leslie Tompkins? Tompkins? What do you want with that, old creep? And with the next coming panels, we would see Batman totally unhinged and actually throwing this man directly at this steel-plated car and surely breaking another vertebrae, only to add of the list of the many broken spines that this man has literally caused firsthand, alright? These people are just stealing hubcaps and radios, and he's causing them permanent bodily damage. But once again, this would not be anything new. And as Batman would continue to let his rage out, he would tell this man to never refer to Leslie Tompkins as a creep ever again. Once more, where is Leslie? I think the old Tompkins near the warehouse. From this instant on, you'll stay clean, or I'll come looking for you. Yeah, check. Ooh, I'm convinced. Yeah, me too. Only I wonder why a big timer like the Batman is even bothering with us. And once again, with the next coming panels, we would see yet another crime going on in Crime Alley. Something just one after another, in a place that you would think would almost be patrolled by martial law, by the US Army themselves, but it would seem that Gotham City would never really learn their lesson. Because even when Dr. Freeze is out there literally trying to freeze the entire city, or with Poison Ivy turning everybody into these weird psilocybin mushroom people, or even with the Joker just releasing his toxic gases everywhere, it would always seem that the Gotham Police Department would be just one step behind. With all these petty muggers left to the sidelines to kind of terrorize the local populace, it would just seem that Gotham City can never really catch a break. And from here, we would see a young goateed man holding a knife up to an old man who was clinging on to his last dollar.
Please, Sonny, you ain't gonna take my last dollar, are you? Things are tough all over, Gramps. Now give me.
And as this old man would bolt for any sense of safety, this man would grab him by the back of the shirt and tell him to continue to yell his full head off, that nobody in Crime Alley is ever going to pay any attention to him.
You can't outrun me neither. And 'cause you tried, I'm gonna waste you a little bit.
And out of completely nowhere, we would see the Batman reaching over and grabbing this man by the shoulder and spinning him around. And what he would say next is something that would completely shock me.
Your choice, punk.
Drop the knife, or have it crammed down your throat sideways. In this, I just don't even know what to say. Because in the last Batman story, we literally saw this man hang a giant from a plane, killing him with a noose, but I've never just outright heard Batman say that he was going to shove a knife down somebody's throat. And upon a first read, it's something that, truly caught me off guard, and I would almost challenge you all to find me some of the most depraved Batman lines that you've ever heard. Sleazy Juan, I think this is a challenge for you. But nonetheless, this man would seem to think that he would have any kind of upper hand on the Batman, just being a man wielding a knife, and apparently this dude has absolutely no idea the lengths that Batman has gone to save this city. Suddenly, fear, the panic of the cowardly drives the mugger forward blindly. Better thugs than you have had a go at sticking me, and they failed. Always. And as Batman would utterly drop this man to the ground, and once again kicking somebody directly in the spine in a Bane-like fashion, it almost makes me wonder if this is exactly where Batman learned his spine-breaking abilities from. As if having this done to himself would make him realize that this is basically the ultimate takedown, and that even somebody like Bruce Wayne is simply not getting up from this. But as this man would fall to the ground, Batman would pull on a few zip ties and begin to kind of tie this man up for the police. And as this old man would come up to him telling him thank you, Batman would tell him to let him finish with this piece of trash, and he would be glad to walk this man home. May I ask you a question? Go ahead and shoot. You chase international criminals. They say you're the world's greatest detective. So how come you're preventing a common mugging? Crime is crime. And to you, the loss of $1 is more important than the loss of 1,000 to a banker. Now, my turn to do the asking. Have you seen Leslie Tompkins? Why, yes. Leslie was running a street fair over in Sullivan Street earlier today. Thank you, and stay well, sir. And with Batman kind of heading off on his journey once again, this old man, and unlike the two thieves trying to steal the hubcaps, will begin to wonder just what exactly Batman would want with this Leslie Tompkins. Because normally Batman would only go against the people that are trying to actively take down Gotham City, the people who are constantly putting the population in harm's way, and Leslie Tompkins would only turn out to be a woman who throughout her entire life has only tried to help the people of Crime Alley by either funding the orphanages or trying to put on local events or local classes and anything to kind of give the younger population a chance that the rest of them never quite got. And kind of hearing Batman talk about how $1 is more important to this man rather than 1,000 to a banker is something that I find very refreshing, to actually see Batman step down a little bit of realism and to actually looking down at the people below him and realizing just how important all these small commodities are to everybody. But with our next panel, Batman will get ever closer to his goal and he would reach a fair going on within Crime Alley, and immediately being spotted by somebody who he had actually helped on this very same day only a year ago. Hey Bats! How you doing, pal? You sure gave me a hand last year when those kids were hassling me. A year ago exactly, right? Right. Have you seen Leslie Tompkins? Let me see. Les, heading for the family house. And with our next panels, we would once again see the third and final crime of Crime Alley tonight. And two people that would have the grave mistake of threatening somebody that means so very much to Batman himself. Two men who would be ready to mug Leslie Tompkins, and the only hope in Crime Alley, and the only person in this part of the city that is actually trying to help out everybody around rather than just leave. And with all this, the introduction to the only man that I've ever known to be named Gooch.
You ready, Gooch? Yeah, I'm plenty ready. Just put the heat away, will ya? A gun ain't necessary for. There she is! Oh, pigeon, ripe for plucking. Wait up, lady. What is it, boys? Let loose of your purse.
I'd like to. I realize you're probably broke. A lot of people are these days. But I've got the receipts from the street fair, and the money is earmarked for the children of the neighborhood, to give them a chance that you boys never had. I have a modest bank account. I'll write you a check.
I don't know if you're crazy or just dumb, and I don't really care. Now grab the purse, Alfie.
And this really was a part of the story where we get to see Leslie Tompkins actually just being such a golden and glowing person of Gotham City. Even in the moment of being mugged, she still realizes that these people are pretty much just victims of circumstance and still trying to do anything to actually give them something to go on with. And not only just to avoid being harmed herself, but because this money that is in her purse is actually for the children of the neighborhood around her. And I absolutely love the way that she actually remarks that, she's trying to give the children of this area of the town a chance that nobody else really got, because the early days of Gotham City were incredibly rough, and pretty much everybody here has just been forced into crime, just trying to get through the end of the week with a little bit of food. And while it would seem that there's gotta obviously be, some other way than mugging an old lady to kind of meet this quota, at the end of the day, everybody is just trying to survive. But this would not matter, for in the next panel, we would see the Batman coming swinging down from the top of a roof, ready to fracture another L5 vertebrae, claiming that anybody who messes with Leslie Tompkins would have to deal with her friend, the Batman. And as he kicks one of the muggers to the ground, the other one would reach for something in his pocket.
Oh my god, it's the Batman! In person, and anxious for you to do something clever. Keep away, or I'll snuff you. You dare pull a gun on me. Pull a gun on me here.
And as Batman begins to utterly kick this man straight across the face, he will begin to actually lose himself in the memory of one of the worst times of his life, in the alleyway where his parents were gunned down in front of him. And with the next couple of panels, we would see the Batman completely lose himself in the vengeance of everything going on, losing himself in the violence of the night, and being completely overwhelmed with all the crime going on in this part of the city. Trembling with fury, the Batman crushes his fist into Gooch, again and again, and his mind reels, spins like a dervish in the past, to 21 years ago this very night, where he and his parents were standing on this exact spot, chatting about the movie they'd just seen, when a gunman emerged from the shadows. And as the boy watched in horror, and 2 shots were fired, and his face contorted in a silent scream as his mother and father crumpled to the cold pavement. Later, there were police and reporters, but nobody noticed the boy racked with endless sobs. Nobody, except a woman who knelt by him and said, "I'm Leslie Tompkins. Come with me. I'll do what I can." And in all the world, there was nothing except the warmth of her arms and the comfort of her soothing words. "Stop! Stop! You've hit him enough!" And suddenly, Batman will be snatched out of this reeling vision, having Leslie Tompkins herself grab him by the shoulder and begin to scream that he's hit him enough, that this poor young boy has surely learned his lesson. And as Batman reels back, realizing just what he's done, he would tell Leslie that he'll let the police scoop up the rest of the scum, leaving these 2 unconscious bodies in the dusk. And what would happen next is Batman would finally meet the end of his quest, actually meeting Leslie Tompkins once again, and something that he does every single year, and something that I find, very heartwarming, as with that vision actually showing her kind of comfort this little boy in the heat of the moment after such tragedy would occur. And with the next panel, Leslie Tompkins would tell the Batman that he needs to calm down, that to lose your temper is wholly unhealthy. And on top of all this, Leslie would tell the Batman that she has been expecting him all day. Because like I said before, this is a place and a person that Batman would revisit every single year on this very same day. "I've been expecting you, Batman. You always come to visit on this day. And I confess, I've never really understood the reason. Call it a memorial, a reminder of who I am, of my beginning and my probable end. And you, Miss Tompkins, what is your reason for continuing to live in Crime Alley? Oh, I once saw a hideous thing, a child whose parents were murdered in front of his own eyes. I've never forgotten the lad, and I've devoted my life to doing what I can to prevent such tragedy from ever happening again. And forgive me, but I live for the time when you and your kind will be unnecessary. I've heard there's no hope in Crime Alley, Miss Tompkins, but that's wrong. You, and those like you, you're the hope of Crime Alley. Maybe the only hope our tormented civilization has left. And with the next panel, with Batman kind of realizing that Leslie Tompkins is right, that hopefully in the future the only people that they'll actually need is people such as herself, and not really needing some kind of city stalking bodyguard to kind of beat up any ne'er-do-weller in sight, Batman will begin to say his goodbyes and he would plant a kiss right on her forehead, and something that I've never really seen this man do, actually showing such emotion for such a lady, and it's something that I honestly find very heart-touching. As to actually see somebody that means so much to Batman, other than Poison Ivy, or other than Catwoman, or any of these kind of sexual endeavors, or these people that he has kind of a vague romantic attraction to, it's just something that I found very nice to see, and something that I only hope for Alfred one day. That maybe Batman could tuck him into bed, to give him the midnight kiss, and to set him away on his dream journey. But with this, we would have never really reached the conclusion of this story, with the sunshine rising over Gotham City. At last, the long night is over, and the rising sun brightens Crime Alley, and this including the Wayne penthouse. Breakfast, Master Bruce. I've prepared your favorites, Eggs Benedict, and oh, he's asleep. And how strange, he's smiling. And with the conclusion of this very touching story, with this brilliant ending of Batman just sleeping in his recliner, with a big smile on his face after getting the help of the less fortunate, and getting to meet with Leslie Tompkins once again, this would be the end of our story, and something that I just really enjoyed. While it isn't the most fantastical Batman story ever, or it doesn't have the most heavy plot that we've ever seen before, I do think it is just a very nice touch to actually see Batman care for so much of somebody, and I feel like it's not a lot of times where we actually get to visit the Batman origin story that we've seen a billion times over, and something that obviously basically everybody is so sick and tired of seeing this man's parents being gunned down in front of him. I mean, come on, Batman. How many times do we have to live through this traumatic event before we can just move past it? But outside of this rant, I do gotta say, it was very refreshing to actually see this little flashback as Batman is literally beating the shit out of this man, to actually see the emotion of him as a child, and to actually see him kind of being coddled by this older woman who would come up and realize of, what a real tragedy this really is. For a little boy to actually see his parents gunned down in front of him after a beautiful family night out of seeing, this new favorite movie of Bruce Wayne, and showing this little boy the compassion that he really needs to just, feel okay. It really managed to be a part of the story that, it could bring a tear to my eye if I really thought about it, but it's not gonna happen right now, per se, but, if I'm feeling emotional and I sat down and read this, I think it could happen, that's for sure. But overall, No Hope Left in Crime Alley has been definitely one of my more favorite stories out of the greatest Batman stories ever told, and something that I just came to very much appreciate. And I'm getting really excited to actually read through this entire thing, to kind of pluck and pull all these different individual stories that we can kind of visit on this channel. And like I said, Batman is something that I always have a ton of fun editing, Editing can be kind of a lot for me, alright? Sometimes it's very tedious, and sometimes I'm very tired, I work a very physical job, but with these Batman stories, there's so much versatility between these things that can be very dark with, the Batman Who Laughed, or Batman the Damned, or even the Vampire Batman books, all the way to just stories where we would see Batman finally telling Catwoman that he loves her, or of the artist who actually grew up watching Batman on TV, and actually stemmed his life path for the rest of his life. There's just no shortage of good Batman stories. I can't even tell you half the Elsewhere stories that I have on this man, how so many different eras and different situations that this man could possibly be in, and I still stand my ground by saying that Batman is probably one of the most versatile comic book characters that I've ever seen. You can write him good, you can write him ambiguous, you can write him evil, you can write him in the medieval ages, you can write him in the future. It doesn't really matter. And I think if you're anybody who wants to kind of write a superhero comic book, it's definitely the place that you can begin, because it would seem that almost all these different timelines and events are for the most part very much accepted for this man, to where some of the other superheroes, it might be, kind of weird to see them in all these different eras and with all these different possibilities. And I don't want to get too far into this, but the artwork alone in all these different stories is just something that always amazes me, especially with Brian Azzarello's stories all the way to Garth Ennis. It's always just something different. But anyways, everybody, I do hope you enjoyed that story. I'm sorry if it wasn't the most riveting Batman story you've ever heard in your life, but I do hope that you were able to enjoy that, as it is something that I, really did, for whatever reason. But it was just kind of nice to sit down, read something simple, tell a simple story, and just kind of have myself a good time. But yes, everybody, comment down below what your favorite Batman story is. Don't forget the beginning question of maybe what's the most wild thing you've ever seen Batman say. All these different things, put them down in the comments, and I'll be sure to comment back and maybe even try to seek out these stories for a future video. It's nothing that I can promise, but when I have these things kind of wrapping my brain, usually, I'll be sitting there on a Tuesday and I'll be like, bam, need to do that. I, for some reason, have an obsession with a story right now, and I need to cover it. That's usually kind of just how these things work. But anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button and kind of checking out some different content. We have all sorts of stories covered on this channel, from very sentimental situations to horror to, sometimes sci-fi, I guess, and obviously the all-time favorite, Hellraiser, which is always, a good time, whether it's very uncomfortable or not. But anyways, everybody, have yourself an absolutely fantastic day, and thank you so much for giving me your time. It means so much to me. I will see you all on the next episode of From the Heart.